It's not letting me go now. Sorry. Try one more time and then we'll give up if it doesn't go. Come on. Oh, taking too long. Oh, wait, here we go. Okay, let's try. Okay, I think we did it. I think we did it. Great. Okay. Okay, great. All right. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Let's get down to it. Parshat Korach. I know that us in Israel read this already. It's going to be an exciting Shabbat for those who have not read this yet, and for those who have read it already. Gosh, what an incredible Parsha to look on together. So just to backtrack for a second to put us where we are. So last week in Shlach Lecha, we had the heartbreaking failure of the spies. And that left Am Yisrael in the desert. And they were going to have to wait 40 years until they come in. They didn't know exactly how long they were going to wait. But basically, the whole generation that came out of Egypt, that went to Har Sinai, that experienced the splitting of the Red Sea, Mount Sinai, that whole experience, that group was just told now that they are not coming into Israel. The big dream, the hope that they had, all the dreams of coming out of Egypt was not just to be in the desert and not only to receive the Torah, but to be able to taste the fruit of Eretz Yisrael, not outside, but inside, to be in Eretz Yisrael. That was the hope, that was the dream. However, because of the sin of the spies, which we explored last week, that was not able to happen. Now, you can imagine on the heels of such a difficult event, where that generation was then told, okay, sorry, you're not coming into Israel. Only the next generation is coming in. So it's not easy. Sorry, it's not difficult to understand that we are at a time that is ripe for rebellion, right? You know, is there a time that's more ripe for rebellion when the people are just told, sorry, you're just going to die off in the desert? It would be strange on some level if there wasn't some sort of response from the people. And we see almost a revolt happening here. So this is pretty interesting stuff. So let's just familiarize ourselves with the story again. And I'm going to share the screen here. Okay, here we go. Now just a little bit of an overview of the text. Just do the English again, just for speed's sake here. Now Korach, son of Itzhar, son of Korach, how is it? Son of Levi, betook himself along with Datan and Aviram, the sons of Eliav, and On ben Peleth, descendants of Ruvain. We'll go back in a second to appreciate who it was that he took with him, but he takes them. And the Midrash says that he took them with words. In other words, he convinced them. He said some very convincing things to them about the need to revolt against Moshe. And here they are, they stand up against him. They to rise up against Moses, together with 250 Israelites, chieftains of the community, chosen in the assembly, men of repute. In other words, it's not just the general people, but these are the leaders of the community. Okay, these are people that had a certain standing in the community that were able to. The Korach was successful in bringing together for his cause. Just keep in the back of your mind, by the way, that Korach and Moshe are mishpacha, their family. They're actually first cousins. Okay, so maybe that makes this rebellion and revolt even a little more understandable. Okay, this is really family business that's kind of boiling over. So they combined against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You have gone too far, Lav lecha, for all the community are holy, all of them, and the Lord is in their midst. Why do you raise yourself above the Lord's congregation?" Now we're going to come back to this point because it's important exactly what it is that Korach claims that Moshe is doing. Let's keep going a little bit for now. V'yishma Moshe v'yipol aponav. Moshe fell on his face. By the way, that's exactly Moshe's reaction last week when he heard the spies, if you guys remember. So he's falling on his face quite a lot, unfortunately. Okay, then he spoke to Korach and to all his company, saying, "Come morning, the Lord will make himself known, who is his and who is holy, and who will grant him access to himself. He will grant access to the one he has chosen." In other words, in the morning time, we're going to discern, right? The morning time is a good time to discern between different colors, different shapes. The morning light will make it clear to us what's going on here. If God chose me, or if I just chose myself. Okay, Korach's claim is basically, on the face of it, that Moshe and Aaron are usurping power for themselves. Or specifically, Moshe is acting like the king and giving out the favors to his brother, right? This is a classic claim of what we call over here in Israel, protexia. A little bit of nepotism, passing it around. Moshe's passing it to Aaron, and Korach gets passed over, so he's really upset. So Moshe says, come morning time, we're going to figure out if this is nepotism or usurping power as you claim, or if this is what God actually wants, which is what I'm claiming, Moshe says. If we think back to it, by the way, Moshe didn't even want the job, right? He was kind of forced into it at the burning bush and after that as well. But really the moment of the burning bush, there's a lot of friction between God and Moses about him taking on this task to lead the Jewish people out of Egypt and bring them into Israel, right? So the idea that Moshe would usurp power, it's kind of a strange claim. We'll have to really kind of explore this. And okay, if it was just Korach that said this, fine. But now he's got 250 leaders in the community coming and claiming this as well. So how does this revolt have any legs to it? That's one of the questions we're going to have to get into as well. So Moshe continues and he says, is it not enough for you that the God of Israel has set you apart from the community of Israel and given you access to him to perform the duties of the Lord's tabernacle and to minister in the community and serve them? In other words, Korach has a very, very prestigious position already. He's a Levi, he's a Levite, and he has the him and his family have a unique task of carrying the Klei Kodesh, carrying the very holy items, the Aron, the Mizbeach, the menorah, all these very, very holy vessels. Korach and his family are given access to them. They're holding them. So that's a pretty coveted position. So it's not as if Moshe has elevated himself and then Korach and anybody else is just left over at the scraps. Korach has a very, very important position. So that's an interesting point as well. And Moshe is saying, just why aren't you happy with the unique role that you play in the community already? You're elevated already. Why do you now need to come and say that you're the leader? Okay, so that's really Korach's claim. And Moshe's claim against Korach is, you already have a position of leadership. What you're trying to do is usurp my leadership. Okay, so on the face of it, again, that's what's seemingly happening here. Let's go forward a little more. V'yakarev itcha v'etz, I will do the English. Now he has advanced you and all your fellow Levites with you. Do you seek the priesthood too, right? It's not enough for what the Leviim have. Now you want to be a Kohen. Truly it is against the Lord that you and your company have banded together. For who is Aaron that you should rail against him? Okay, Aaron, I mean, come on. Okay, you want to talk about me, fine. But Aaron a Kohen? In the Mishnah Pirkei Avot, it says he's Rodef Shalom, V'ohev Shalom. You know, that the Am mourned him for 30 days when he left. It's hard to even imagine the presence of Aaron a Kohen, this incredible person that was really the bridge between the heavens and the earth, which is really what the Kohen Gadol is. A person that stands between the human and the divine. And so Aaron was Oev Shalom, Oev Shalom. He loved peace. He ran after peace. You're going to say that he's usurping power? And the guy is like, he thought my face was shining. Aaron HaKohen is like, how can you talk bad about this guy? Right? It's like, if you guys imagine someone in your cohort, someone in your group, and the sweetest, nicest person in the group, and then someone claims that person is the one that's trying to stir up problems in the group. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, now I'm skipping forward just a little bit more. And Moses says, by this you shall know that it was the Lord who sent me to do all these things, that they are not of my own devising. I'm going to figure out a way to illustrate to everyone that it was God that wants it this way, and that I'm not taking this power for myself. If these men die as all men do, if their lot be the common fate of all mankind, it was not the Lord who sent me. In other words, if these people just kind of fall over from normal causes, from natural causes, then you'll know that it wasn't God that sent me. But if something special, unique, unheard of happens, right? But if the Lord brings about something unheard of, so that the ground opened its mouth and swallows them up with all that belongs to them, and they go down alive to Sheol, hell basically, you shall know that these men have spurned the Lord. I don't know if the only movie that I've ever seen or image that I've seen that kind of captures this, I don't know if there's any Star Wars fans out there, but I grew up on Star Wars. And The Return of the Jedi, there's this big hole in the ground and it eats Boba Fett and all the Jabba the Hutt's bad guys. So, that's kind of what I imagine, this hole in the ground just opening up and swallowing Korach. Pretty graphic, pretty cool. Unless you're Korach, I guess. It's pretty scary to be just sucked up into the ground. Okay, scarcely had he finished speaking all these words, and the ground under them burst asunder, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households, all Korach's people and their possessions. They went down alive to Sheol with all that belonged to them. The earth closed over them, and they vanished from the midst of the congregation. So this is even cooler than Return of the Jedi. The hole opens up, Korach and his family and their tent all get swallowed up, and then it kind of closes up over again. So you can imagine there's a bit of chaos in the camp, right? All Israel around them fled at their shrieks, for they said the earth might swallow us, right? Once you see the earth open up and swallow some people, you're concerned about that happening again. But that's not what happened. And then a fire went forth from the Lord and consumed the 250 men and their men offering the incense. Okay, so the 250 that came along with Korach, so they did not get swallowed up in the hole. They died by fire. Now, there is a lot to talk about, which we won't be able to get into today, as far as why did Korach and his family get swallowed in the hole, and why did the 250 get consumed by fire, and what's that about, and is that just, and did they have it coming to them? That's a great discussion that probably won't be able to get into today. I'd like to try to deconstruct Korach. You guys will see what I mean in a second. In other words, if we, just reading the story as we did just now, it seems like pretty clear who the good guy is and who the bad guy is. The good guy, of course, is Moses and Aaron. They are illustrated to be chosen by God by the fact that God opens up this hole in the ground and swallows Korach. So they seem to be the good guys. And Korach and his 250 seem to be the bad guys. And that's true, and we're not going to negate that. However, that's almost too simple, and I think missing out on a whole layer of depth that's in this story for us to kind of extrapolate, which is what I would like to do with you guys, and to try to understand, well, maybe Korach was right on some level. Let's see, was he totally wrong? Was he 100% wrong? Maybe there's some redeeming things that we could say about Korach. And the Hasidic rabbis used to call him the Heiliger Reb Korach. We can learn so much, this incredible Rav Korach. What do you mean Rav Korach? He's the bad guy, he gets swallowed up. No, but he has a lot to teach us. So what I'd like to do with you guys for the next however many minutes we have left is to try to appreciate what Korach is teaching us. Because as we mentioned last week, I don't remember if it was either in the Q&A part or the regular shiur itself, the Torah is understood to be a eternal document. So if it is supposed to be eternal, then it should have something to say just beyond, this is the good guy, this is the bad guy, he's the leader of the rebellion, they get swallowed up, don't mess with Moses type of thing. I think there's a little bit of a deeper message going on here than don't mess with Moshe. Now that's what I'd like to find out with you, to explore with you guys. Okay, now I'd like to just kind of talk about the kli, the tool that I'd like to use as we kind of dig through the character of Korach and look through the text, hopefully in a different way. So there's a website called Positive Psychology, which talks about something called narrative therapy technique, which is a really cool technique that psychologists use, therapists use in order to help people, in order to kind of reorganize their life stories so that they can envision themselves in a totally different way in their stories. And I'll give you guys an example of that in a second, how this works. Now, for anyone out there who loves a little postmodernism, you guys will love this type of stuff, because basically what the claim of narrative therapy is that there's no one story, there's no one truth. It's all how the story is shared. It's all about perspective. Okay, so we're not going to take this to the nth degree and say that Korach is the good guy and Moshe really is the bad guy, but we can maybe retell Korach's story, and through the retelling of his story and looking at it through a different lens, maybe we can appreciate something about Korach, and as I mentioned, try to find some redeeming qualities. But just a little bit about narrative therapy so you guys understand this. This is a quote from the website. The unique outcomes technique, that's the name of it, the unique outcomes technique. Okay, that's a specific technique that your narrative therapy uses. It involves changing one's own storyline. Like a book that switches viewpoints from one character to another, our life has multiple threads of narrative with different perspectives, areas of focus, and points of interest. The unique outcomes technique focuses on a different storyline or storylines than the one holding the source of your problems. Okay, in other words, I'll give you an example. Let's imagine that you had a family, and at some point the mother decided to leave the family, to leave the husband. And there were two boys, two children, okay? The mother took the one child, okay, child number one, and left child number two with the father. Child number two, his whole life, he's in therapy, he's scarred. What's his narrative? My mother left me. My mother abandoned me and left me with my father. Okay, and that child grows up with that narrative, that story his whole life. And whatever problems he encounters, whether it be, in his personal life, school, work, whatever it is, his challenge is he's met with this issue of my mom deserted me. Okay, so now imagine 20 years go by, 30 years go by, and he tracks down his mother and he sits her down and says, why did you abandon me? Right? He's obviously hurt. He's in pain. Why did you abandon me? So she says to him, the reason that I took your brother and not you is because your brother, he's too soft. He's too vulnerable. He never could have grown up with your father. Your father would have beat him into the ground. He never would have been able to live in that way. But you are tough. You are strong. And I knew if I left you with your father, you would still be okay and you would be successful. So in that way, this child now, his story is totally changed, right? Instead of viewing himself as a victim of his mother who had abandoned him, now he appreciates the story from another narrative, that his mother loves him and cared about him and left him because she sensed the sense of strength that he carried with him. Okay, so that's just an idea about how narrative therapy works, and that's the kind of way that I want to look at Korach. Sounds good? Any questions about that so far? Okay, good. Now, here's where we get interesting, and we're going to delve into the Midrash a little bit and see this story through a bit of a deeper lens. This is from Midrash Rabbi, which is from Bimidbar. Okay, and they assembled themselves together against Moshe and against Aaron. Now that's what we just read from Midbar 16:30. Korach said to them, all the congregation are holy, every one of them. Okay, still quoting. Now, here's what the Midrash adds. And they have all heard at Sinai the commandment, I am the Almighty, your God. Ani Hashem, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. I have heard that. Wherefore then do you lift yourself above the assembly of God? Okay, so the Midrash just drops something in here. Small, but amazing. Now, the claim is, Korah comes and says, we all are Kodesh, we are holy. God spoke to us too, Moshe. What makes you separate? What gives you the ability to point us over you? Okay, now, is it true that they all stood at Har Sinai and they heard the voice?
Yes.
Yeah, right, it's true. They all, what's that?
Moshe went up Mount Har Sinai.
Moshe went up. Okay, that's true. It's not clear, by the way, how many of the 10 commandments they heard. Either they heard all 10 or they heard 2. There's a midrash that says, I think somewhere in Kabbalah, that says they heard the Aleph of Anochi. Okay, you can meditate on that idea for a while because the Aleph doesn't make a noise. Okay, but whatever it was they had, that experience that they had at Har Sinai was some sort of group prophetic experience. And Korach's pointing at that and saying, we all experienced that together, along with you, Moshe. Which is true, okay, which is true. So we already can see that in Korach's claim, there are some things that are false, and there are some things that are true. Okay, and the Midrash is drawing that out to make sure we know part of Korach's claim has truth to it. Now we have to kind of filter through there and figure out what is and what is not true. Okay, that's step 1. Now, this is a PG-13 rated text. Just to warn everybody. Okay. This is from the Gemara in Sanhedrin. And when Moshe heard it, he fell upon his face. What did he hear? What news did he hear? Okay, this is when Korach explained to him and made the claim against him. So what news did he hear? The Midrash is going to read something additional that's not in our text into the text that made Moshe fall, as if it wasn't enough that Korach and his 250 men are rebelling against him. Apparently the Midrash needs to think that there was something additional that happened here. So Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani said in Rabbi Yonatan's name that he was suspected of adultery with married women. As it is written, they were jealous of Moshe in the camp in Tehillim, in Psalms, which teaches that every person warned his wife on Moshe's account. As it is written, and Moshe took the tent and pitched it outside the camp. Scandalous, okay? It's hard to really imagine this, but the claim against Moshe is not that, as we said before, that he usurped power, right? That's only part of it. That's only the tip of the iceberg. The claim here of the Gemara is that Moshe is accused of sleeping with the wives of people in the community. Now, if we thought the claim of Moses being a usurper of power was already outrageous, and especially to our own, now we're claiming that he's sleeping around with women? It's like he's not even with his own wife, much less other women. So what is it that the Midrash is trying to draw out here? Why does it claim, what is it seeing here that it's bringing up something so radical? Okay, so based on those two Midrashim, I'd like to try to, in the few minutes we have left, through some Chassidut, try to find a way to redeem Korach. And we're going to do that through a text called the Mea Shiloach, the Ishbitzer Rebbe. And he actually was around in the 19th century, in the early 19th century, and has some very unique and sometimes radical ideas to share. So we're going to look a little bit of the Mea Shiloach, the Ishbitzer Rebbe. So here he says, sorry I didn't get to translate this. Moshe, why have you elevated yourself over us? הנה טענות קורח היית שאין שום התנשאות בין ישראל לאחד על חברו, כי בתוכם השם. the claim that Korach makes is that there is no difference amongst anyone in the community, that it's absolute equality. Absolute equality. As the Midrash says in Ta'anit, the Gemara there, that in the future, and this is a beautiful image that the Gemara paints, that we're going to be circle dancing with God, so to speak. Anyone ever do any Israeli dancing? Right, so this is kind of, Adi, I'm sure, come on, you grew up with circle dancing, right? You're on a kibbutz up in the north, right? So this is the image that the Gemara gives, that we'll be doing a circle dance with God, so to speak, a machol. What is that? What is that Midrash? What is that Gemara trying to illustrate to us? If everyone is in a circle and God is either inside the circle or in the middle, there's no closeness. There's nobody who's closer or farther. In a circle, everyone's equal. Sorry, I see there's a question here. Is there a question? Somehow it's not letting me get to it. If there was, wait a second. Oh, Yeshuv not kippah. Sorry, Adi. Okay. Okay, we got that clear. But did you circle dance, Adi? Yes. Okay, good. Good. Okay, I got that right at least. So the idea here of the Gemara is saying is that somehow in the future, not now, in the future, we'll be in some sort of beautiful circle dance with the divine. The idea being that no one is farther or closer. We're all equal in the eyes of the divine in this model. Again, in the future, not now. That's what Korach seems to be claiming. That's what the Meir Shilach says the Korach is claiming. Okay. And Korach says it's true now. Not only is it true in the future that we'll all be equal in the eyes of the Lord, but now it's also true. There's no such thing as hierarchy. There's no systems. There's no kind of hierarchy. Now, I know for you guys that are sensitive to this stuff, especially who are following what's going on in politics, maybe this will set off some alarms. Don't worry. Whatever type of hierarchy that we're talking about here, okay, we're not talking about hierarchy based on race, gender, sex, color, any of those things, okay? That's not the type of hierarchy or models that we're talking about. In God's eyes, those distinctions don't exist, even now. Okay, but there are distinctions between us. But Korach says, no, we're all the same, we're all equal, man. Like, stop making these artificial distinctions between us, Moshe. And al zevi yashav alehem ofen dahainu shayam meshiv lehem madua b'nishtadati lechem hitnasut lo ta'anchem she'ein b'Yisrael shum hitnasut lechad al chavirim. Okay, basically Moshe says, well, wait a second. If that's your concern, why didn't you deny the positions of respect that were given to you when we were handing out the positions to who's going to hold the Kli Kodesh? You didn't stand up then when you were given an important position. Only now you're standing up and saying, wait a second, now we're all equal. But you're already elevated in the community. So there's a bit of a problem. Okay, so just to speak this out clearly, we understood initially Korach's claim as, Moshe, you've lifted yourself up over us, you've usurped power. But according to the Meir Shilach, he's saying, no. The reason that you've usurped power is because you think that you're better than all of us, but really we're all equal because, as the Midrash told us, we all were at Har Sinai as well. We all experienced that. So aren't we really all one in the eyes of God? And the answer is yes, and that's true, but not right now. I mean, from a certain perspective, it is true. God loves us all. We're all God's children. Doesn't matter Jews or non-Jews. There is a beloved relationship that the divine has with all of creation that exists. However, there are hierarchies that exist. Okay? Now, those hierarchies that exist in this world are actually our best friends. And I think the simplest way to look at this is to appreciate these hierarchies, not necessarily that one is so much better than the other, but we all have different lackings. We all have different lackings. And we all have different tafkidim. We all have different roles to play in the world. So In the morning, we say the bracha. In the morning, Birchat HaShachar. One of the blessings in the morning, Birchat HaShachar, is Shasal Ali Kol Tzorchi. Now, the way that we usually translate that is that you have made for me, that you have fulfilled my lackings. You have completed my lackings. But Rav Kook says, no, that's not what it means. It means that you have given us our lackings. Shasali Kol Tzorchi, you've given me my needs. Thank you, Hashem, for giving me all these lackings. Why in the world would we want to thank God for all these lackings? Because our lackings are cues and teachings where we need to work and build ourselves in the world. And if we erase those lackings, then what are we here for? So the different levels or hierarchies that we're talking about here in our world doesn't mean that someone is necessarily better or worse than me. There are positions that people ascend to, and there are people with specific roles and tasks to play. But it doesn't mean that one is necessarily better or worse than the other. They're different. Hierarchy doesn't have to mean better or worse. It just means everybody has a specific and unique role that they need to play in the world. And Korach wants to come in and erase all that. And Moshe says, I'm sorry, that's for the future. That's not for now. We appreciate our lackings because they're our greatest teachers. They allow us to grow, which is the most important thing about why we're here in the world. So we haven't got to that place where we're in a circle, dancing with the divine in this beautiful state of equivalence. We'll get there, B'ezrat Hashem. We hope to get there someday, but not yet, Korach. And therefore, we all need to play our roles. God defines for us, tells us, teaches us, allows us insight into our specific goals through our lackings. And also, by the way, what allows us to feel a tremendous sense of depth and connection. Though, and our talents. Someone has an artistic talent or talent in math or whatever it is. Obviously, that's a cue, in which direction to go. But our lackings are our greatest teachings. And so we don't want Korach to erase those. So Korach is right from a certain perspective. He's correct that we are equivalent in the eyes of God from a certain perspective. And in the future, we will have this cyclical relationship with the divine. But we're not there yet. We're not quite there yet. And we don't want to erase those lackings. Okay? Now, the last point, I just want to get to this for those who are wondering, how in the heck could it be that people thought that Moshe was an adulterer? This very quickly, won't have time to do this inside, but the Meir Shalach says, well, the reason is that in this physical world, there's something of an illusion. Something in this physical world lies to us. And sometimes what looks a certain way is actually the opposite. So Moshe, we learn the Anav Mikol Adam. He's the most humble person. So because of what the Meir Shalach calls the lavush, the clothing of this world, just like clothing hides, okay? It reveals, but it also hides. So clothing hides Moshe's humility. What does it show? Seemingly, on the outside, Moshe looks like a haughty person who's usurping power and hanging out with all the ladies, right? I guess when they brought their nose rings, and they separated from their husbands, they brought their nose rings to the golden calf. Moshe comes down, sees all the ladies there, he's hanging out with all the women, and they're concerned. But they don't see Moshe as he is. They only see the lavush, which is a distortion. Okay? So the opposite sometimes of the way we see things is actually true. And that's the most we can say, I think, about Korach. Is that yes, he was wrong, and yes, the rebellion was incorrect, and we're not going to paint him as the good guy here. But one of the powerful lessons that he has to teach us is that sometimes what you see is not what you get. And sometimes there's something so much deeper going on that from the outside, it can actually look like the opposite is true. This is a great way for us to learn to look in situations which somehow seem so clear, but actually there's something deeper going on. That can be inside of us, that can be within our families, our friends, whatever kind of networks. It's a powerful lesson that we can utilize in all facets. So I'm going to pause there for the presentation. And thank you guys very much. And then I'll stick around for some questions.